Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Sarah, otherwise known as Sarah Says Hi here on YouTube. And this is my 2-week update of following my progesterone building week of doing carnivore fasting and 1 week back on keto and alternate day fasting. To find out my results, stay tuned. So I'm going to start off by telling you the weight or weight loss. So in 2 weeks, I am up 0.8 of a pound. That's not too bad. It could be water retention, whatever. But I found out some very interesting things of doing the carnivore fasting during my progesterone building week, which again is the week before you start your period. So it's about 7 or 8 days for me. Do you guys recall in my Dr. Mindy update where I said I would not allow myself to gain that much weight? If you don't recall, with Dr. Mindy's progesterone building week, you're eating 200 grams of carbohydrates during that week. So when I tried her method, I gained 5.4 pounds, and then it took me a week to lose that weight by doing keto and alternate day fasting. Yeah, so here's what's interesting. With the carnivore fasting, I actually gained a pound even more than I did doing the 200 grams of carbs with Dr. Mindy's protocol. That's really very, very strange to me. I did not expect to see that. I expected that I was doing carnivore, that if anything, I should have lost weight during that week, and that was not the case. I was really surprised. I expected to lose weight with carnivore. Again, I was doing the same thing that Dr. Mindy suggests, where you only do intermittent fasting during the week before your period. So I did practice intermittent fasting with anywhere from 13 to 15-hour fasting hours. I did not count calories or macros just like she suggests. I pretty much had like anywhere I would say from 5 to 8 grams of carbohydrates during that week, mostly from cheese or yogurt because I was eating dairy during the carnivore fast. There was one day where I did binge. It was about 3 days before my period, so I think that would have been maybe day 26 of the progesterone building week. Now, did I binge because I felt deprived because I was just eating meat and dairy, and that was it? I don't know. Was that just part of a hormonal thing where I just felt I needed carbs and so I ate them that day? I don't know. So now I almost feel bad for like talking smack basically about Dr. Mindy's method because it didn't matter. It didn't matter if I followed the 200 grams of carbs like she suggested or not eating the carbohydrates because I still binged one day. I'm thinking that maybe it's just more hormonal is the reason why I binged. It had nothing to do with the fact that I was eating carbohydrates back then that caused me to crave more carbohydrates. So when I started the carnivore fasting, I was 177 pounds, which was basically putting me right back to where I was day one of starting Dr. Mindy's protocol with the carbs back in September. When I ended the carnivore fasting week, I weighed 103.4 pounds. Like I said, with Dr. Mindy's method in September, I was 182.4 pounds after the week of eating the 200 grams of carbs. So so that showed that I gained a pound more eating carnivore. So then after it was about 8 days of doing the carnivore fasting, I went back to keto and alternate day fasting, which gave me 3 full days of 36-hour fasts. And today is my official weigh-in, and I weighed in at 177.8. So like I said, I'm 0.8 pounds heavier than I was at the start of this month. So basically that puts me at almost another month of no weight loss. I still have 2 more weeks to go. My hope is that at the end of these next 2 weeks that I weigh 175 pounds. I think I could do it. I really do. I wanted to talk about carnivore. You may have seen my video where I showed like 3 days, 2 or 3 days, I think it was 2 or 3 days of eating during the carnivore fasting. And yes, I was eating dairy. I noticed some interesting things that happened during that week. One is that I had the meat sweats or sweating caused by high protein intake. That kicked in at about day 2 and day 3. So both of those nights, I woke up at like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, in a pool of my own sweat. I did look it up, and some people do experience meat sweats when they start carnivore. There's just a thermogenic effect from having high protein, and I experienced that. I did notice that I had improved sleep throughout that week. I didn't have any, nights of waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning like I normally do. So, an indication of getting improved sleep means your cortisol levels could have lowered. So, I'm hoping that that is the case by doing carnivore fasting, that it did lower my cortisol levels. However, I did notice improved sleep when I did Dr. Minnie's 200 grams of carbs last month as well. Can't say which method at this point is best for me. Day 4 of carnivore fasting, I had explosive diarrhea. It hit, guys. I was warned. Your keto best friend warned me about it, that she said poop changes when you do carnivore fasting, and she wasn't kidding. So, yeah, I had explosive diarrhea that evening. And then also the following day, day 5, stupidly, I did not take my psyllium husk powder, thinking that, that was just a one-time thing and it probably wouldn't happen again. Well, day 5, I ended up having diarrhea. Same thing. It was like in the evening after I had my dinner. That's when the diarrhea hit. So pretty much after day 5 of doing carnivore fasting, I began having the psyllium husk powder again every morning, because I just didn't want to take a chance of having diarrhea at work. Another thing about carnivore fasting is I decided to test my ketones. I think I tested my ketones 2 days into it, and yeah, was not in ketosis. I believe it has to do with the high protein. I would be very curious to see what people that are doing carnivore, what their normal ketone levels are doing it. I do believe it's the higher intake of proteins that is going to kick you out of ketosis, because what happens is your body is going to take whatever it can and make glucose out of it. So even if you're only taking proteins, your body is going to make new glucose from the protein, and that's called the neoglucogenesis. I've actually felt pretty okay with going in and out of ketosis. I believe that even when I'm doing my keto and alternate day fasting, I tend to be very lenient on my eating days, where I am watching my carbohydrates, but sometimes I splurge. I have a little bit extra ice cream, or we celebrated Boss's Day early this last week, and I had a piece of cheesecake. So, I'm not totally strict keto is what I'm trying to say. I do my best to follow keto, and I'm doing very well with alternate day fasting, but I'm not perfect. One thing about the carnivore fasting is that it is expensive. I want to say that I spent probably a little bit over $200. One thing I did learn is that for me, like, it's almost more beneficial for me to have gone shopping at the grocery outlet to buy New York strips, because that seemed to be a lot cheaper. I think I paid maybe $7 or $8 for 3 of them, for 3 steaks that were probably like, 5 to 6 ounces each. So that seemed to be a pretty good alternative for me, versus like going to Target and like I bought 2 T-bone steaks there for like $21. And yeah, they were massive, but I ate like a whole steak for a meal. So yeah, it was definitely expensive. I could see why people recommend going to Costco to buy all of your meats if you're going to do carnivore. At this point, I can't say what I will do next month. From a spending point of view, money point of view, it's cheaper to do Dr. Mindy's 200 grams of carbs those days, the progesterone building days. The jury is still out on this. I have no idea what I'm going to do. I kind of liked doing carnivore for the week, because I feel right now I'm a little bit more ketovore anyways. I don't eat any vegetables and no fruits. So I kind of felt like I was still in a little bit more control with carnivore. So now that I'm back to doing keto and alternate day fasting, I'm trying to keep my protein a little bit low. not back up to like 140 grams like I was eating before. I'm trying to keep net carbs at around 40 grams, and my protein, I'm trying to stick between like 70 and 100 grams of protein. I'm actually allowing myself to get up to 100. I think if I go more than 100, then that's probably not necessarily a good thing for me right now as far as getting back into ketosis. But like I said, I'm not super strict. So I have 2 more weeks, and I will have the estrogen surge coming up where for those 3 days, you're not supposed to do extended fast, and you are supposed to eat like some of those estrogen building foods. I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that yet. I don't know if I'm just going to pretend like it doesn't exist and just continue on my alternate day fasting schedule, or if I will just do intermittent fasting for those 3 days. That's day 12 to day 14 of your cycle. I may just bump up my carbs slightly on those days just so I can incorporate the dried apricots and dates, and that's it. I don't know. Anyhow, so that's it for this update. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not yet subscribed, go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below. And when you do, don't forget to hit that little bell icon, and that'll notify you every time that I've uploaded a new video. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.